Welcome to Storycomic Presents, where we interview amazing storytellers and artists. This is episode 191. I'm your host, Barney Smith of Storycomic.com. We're excited to have back with us the highly acclaimed and celebrated comic creator of Sunrise Blossom, Nina Daisy Aberlein.
Howdy.
Nina, welcome back. How you doing?
Pretty good. Busy. Heat waves coming and going here in Europe, but I'm living next to my AC pretty much. How about you?
Oh, yes, very much so. Yes, this has been a warmer than normal summer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think when we listen to this podcast in the wintertime, we'll be missing the warm days. We'll be sitting next to our heaters. We'll be sitting next to our space heaters when it's below 0 Celsius. That'll be
possibly. Yeah.
So you're coming out now with a Kickstarter as of this recording, August 6th, which is going to be volume three of your comic book series, Sunrise Blossom. And I know last time you were on, we had a really good conversation on what people could expect from volume 2. But so for those that are here that are going to be looking at the Kickstarter, because what's really cool is that you're coming out with volume 1 through 3 on this Kickstarter. So what can people expect for volume 3 for new readers who haven't been able to read volumes 1 through 2 yet? What can kind of give them a catch up on what volumes 1 through 2 cover?
So Sunrise Blossom is a modern fantasy LGBT romance story that focuses on Ivy, a cute little gay harpy who likes to wear very little sometimes. So yes, modern fantasy with monster girls, especially mythological creatures in the modern world. Girls almost kissing, a lot of it. This is also volume 2. There's the girls almost kissing. It's a pretty long series. It's been going on since 2018, roughly. And the first volume is like 220 something pages long. The second volume is 50 pages, and the third volume is also 50 pages.
Wow.
The first volume is all black and white, while from the second one on, it's in full color, baby. And the art just keeps on getting better. There's harpies, mermaids, gays. I'm just a girl who really, really likes monster girls, and I like telling stories, and I like drawing. And Sunrise Blossom is the result of that.
Right. And so as you said, this has been coming out a lot on Webtoons. People can actually read the series as well on Webtoons. And so you said that the first volume was big. It's a big black and white volume. Second one, as you say, is 50 pages or so. And so the third volume, which is coming out on Kickstarter as of this recording on August 6th, is also about 50 pages, correct? As you said. So what can people expect for people that have been following the character of Ivy? What can people expect in volume 3?
Well, volume 3, there is a lot of reconciliation involved. There are new characters introduced that help drive the main character and the other characters further. There's a cute little party, and there's a lot of confrontation that gets hot. And so, yeah.
And some of the other characters are also being followed through as well on volume 3 as well.
Yes, of course. Though volume 3 focuses mostly on this mysterious dark-haired boy whose name I won't spoil yet, but he is a rather important character who just plunges into the life of Ivy and her human companion, Violet. And it seems like he's going to put a stick in the metaphorical bicycle of their developing relationship, but actually pushes it forward. And given how he helps push the bicycle of the relationship forward, it also gives Ivy more hope for the relationship to develop, as well as anger and frustration, because hey, if X is the case, Y is Y happening. And there's a lot of growth, development, And as I mentioned before, hot confrontation involved,
Right.
steamy
Wow.
a little bit, but without being too much.
And so, and part of this is actually still kind of following along the, as you say, the coming of age story
It
of
is.
Ivy
It's
as
all
well.
part of her growth process into becoming an adult. I mean, she
Right.
technically is an adult, and that's something that is a big part of her character because multiple times she is called a child despite her being 20 years old.
Mm.
And multiple times she gets angry about that, which is one of the things that also pushes in the confrontation. And getting over that is something that is going to help the relationship with the main characters a lot. And I'm really looking forward to volume 4 because volume 3 is good. It's good. I really like it. But volume 4, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's like, oh my gosh, the stuff that happens. And I'm really looking forward to continuing on and also bringing volume 4 to Kickstarter.
Right. And so, for those that are unfamiliar with volumes 1 through 2, as you say, could they can they read volume 3 as its standalone, or they need to know what happens in volume 1 and 2 as well
You'd have to
first?
read volume 1 and
Okay.
volume 2 because it's a continuing and overarching story. And if you were to read volume 1 without reading volume 2, it would be like reading volume book 3 of the Twilight series without having any context. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
ooh, cute werewolf and vampires, but what the heck is happening? Kind of. Okay, maybe Twilight is not the best comparison. I don't really want my work to be compared to Twilight, but it's just to say that it's still enjoyable, but it would be a lot harder to understand.
Right. So let's talk a bit about the Kickstarter and what people can expect from it. So we're going to be looking at the preview page. This hasn't been released yet. So this is, as of this recording, we are looking at the preview page. So very
Yeah, there are
exciting
going to
stuff.
be small modifications in the story, mostly like new photographs of the products and a little meme gallery perhaps at the bottom.
Right. So let's look at, so this is, so let's pull up in here to look at what you have going on here. So do you want talk us through a bit of the pledge levels?
Okay, all right. So there's the very classic, just digital PDF for the new volume. That's €5,
Mm-hmm.
which is about 5 USD, or at least was more or less 5 USD a few weeks ago. And here I put the little tilde because it's a more or less, it's not precise. The values change every day. Um, then for $15, which is more or less €16, you can get the physical copy of just volume 3,
Okay.
followed later by the €20 pledge, which is more or less 21 USD, with which you can get the digital PDF of volume 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3. And keep in mind, this is 300 pages of
Right.
stuff
That's
pretty
a
much.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's like $21, but it's like 300 pages. And it's like I've been working on it for like 4 years. So there we go. Then
And
yeah,
okay, go ahead. And yeah, so then you have the for €45. So only so for €25 more, it's the physical copies, correct?
exactly, the physical
Okay.
copies. And also, before we continue, please do not be frightened by the euro symbol because I have very good deals for the shipping. So in
Okay.
the United States, shipping is going to be €13, which is more or less $13. And considering I'm shipping from Europe, $13 is, and the sizes of some of the pledges, $13 is a bit of a stretch, but I can make it. Then for the United Kingdom, it's also €13, so about £11. The rest of the European Union shipping is €27 and €20 for the rest of the world. But for the American viewers, please do not be alarmed by the euro symbol. I know I'm in Europe, but it's not going to be $30 for shipping.
And I got to say though, you're looking at this pledge level of €60. This is a really good deal. What we're looking at here.
Yeah, so €60, which is about 63 USD, which
Right.
compared to how the exchange rate was with my previous campaign, it's a lot better for, because like for me the prices are about the same, but for y'all Americans on the other side of the continent, it is a much better deal because of how the value of the dollar has gone up. So for 60 euros, or more or less 63 US dollars, you get a physical copy of Sunrise Blossom Volume 1, 2, 3, Halloween print, summer fun print, and probably another summer print that is very nice and sexy bikini that I'm going to add. Volume 1 cover print, 2 cover print, 3 cover print, Volume 1 bookmark, Halloween bookmark, Made Ivy Chibi sticker, and Ivy Violet and Mustafa sticker, as well as all the stretch goals that we're going to reach.
Nice. And then you also have your retail tier, which is always a great idea. Now,
Yeah.
did you have a retail tier in your previous Kickstarter as well?
Yes, but only my mom got it so that she could share with her friends. Yeah, but one tier that I actually kind of am excited about, which is also for about 100 euros, is the advertisement tier.
I love that.
So you give me $100 and I dedicate a page to your product, whether it's hairspray, dildos, whatever.
Yeah. So with that said, like the advertisement piece, what are you? It's where did you get this idea? That's a really good idea.
Well, I actually got the idea from a friend who very recently had a crowdfunding campaign, and he wanted to advertise Friends comics at the end of the series because he's got a little indie publishing company. So Fairies and Ents, and so
Mm-hmm.
he's managing a lot of small comic books. And he was like, "Hey, Nina, I'm doing little advertisements at the end of the book. Can I
That's a
advertise your
good
comic?"
idea.
Like, yeah, sure. And I was like, maybe I could do that too for a profit.
Right. Okay.
So
All right.
maybe, but we'll see.
Cool. Do we had and also you have on there your so you had your advertising you had your so you have two retail tiers.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
So one for just the third volume, which at this point really is just for my mom, I guess, if she wants, and one with 10 copies of all 3 volumes.
Okay. Cool. And so with that said, so all of these are going to be available in November.
So it says
Available for ship November. Yeah.
more or less November, but actually it might even be earlier than that because
Okay.
technically the art is all done, the formatting for print is all done, even the translating for Italian is all done. So really all I'm missing is the funds to print and then to ship. So pretty
Okay.
much as soon as the campaign ends and as soon as the funds come in, it's going straight to print and then straight to shipping. So like with the last campaign, I was able to deliver within 2 months of the campaign ending. So
Mm-hmm.
I put November to be safe, but it's most likely going to be earlier than that.
Right. And so as you said, and so here when we talk about volume 3 itself, I love the fact that how there's it's what's so important about Sunrise Blossom is that it's able to tell stories that need to be told, basically, which I think is really important because not only do you talk about just how there's so many different ways of loving, there's so many different ways of having friends, and I love the fact there's also that point where you have in here like mom finally goes to therapy, so the but
Yeah,
normalizing mental health is important. um,
absolutely. And it's something
yeah.
that I feel isn't done enough in mainstream media, especially portraying therapy as something good and healthy and not just
Hmm.
something for crazy people. That like people who are like younger totally get that. Anyone who is like 20 has been to therapy at least once in the modern
Right.
age, if they can afford it, of course. But especially with the older generation, it takes time to normalize it. And
Right.
especially because particularly in the first volume, a lot happened that was hurtful for some characters.
Right.
And with that happening, I feel that it would be absolutely wrong of me not to, like do something to help them and help their transition into normal life again.
Right. And I see also too that you're looking at some stretch goals as well. I'm always curious about this too. Do you put in the stretch goals of things that you personally would love to have, or are these things that some of your fans have requested?
Well, it's mostly like going through several printing company websites and merch printing and merch producing company
Okay.
websites and seeing what they have available and thinking, oh, this might be nice. Oh, this might be nice. Oh, this might be nice. But also trying to see maybe stuff that could be, especially with the stretch goals in this campaign, things that could be useful. Because
Hmm.
in the previous campaign, the stretch goals that we reached were 2 sets of stickers and a bookmark. And with here, I thought, yeah, pins are nice. They're not too costly to produce, and it'd be nice to have, a pin to, like a pin for free, pretty much. We're
Right.
able to reach the goal. But then, like the notepad and the magnets, things that are actually useful in everyday life. And I'd like
Right.
to maybe have people be like, I don't know, have the notepad next to their phone and see IV every time someone is asking them to take down information on the phone or something like that, and be like, oh yes, that's a nice comic.
Talk to people about your process. Like, how do you write a script out first, or do you kind of sketch things out? Talk to us about your process of producing pages.
Well, the way that I normally work, wait, let me grab. I've got my books here. So I've got like this tiny little notepad that I normally always carry in my bag, which
Mhm.
has like story notes written on it. And pretty much whenever I'm like struck by inspiration, like, oh, that's be nice, I just take it and I write it down as a potential plot point. And then when I'm maybe planning a new volume, or when I'm planning on how to continue the story, if maybe I'm unsure, I normally I scroll through this and see, oh, this would fit, oh, this would fit, oh, this would fit, this would make sense, and stuff like that. Then when I am preparing for a brand new chapter or a brand new volume, I normally script everything out first. um so like this one has a script of a mini episode that I'm publishing as an extra. So pretty much I write down everything on paper, mostly because for me it's like easier to get my thoughts down if
Mhm.
I'm jotting them down by hand. And also the storyboards, so like the very very rough idea sketches of the pages, I always do on paper traditionally, again because it's easier for me to get my thoughts down.
That's right, because you were talking earlier how Clip Studio Paint is your go-to program,
Yes,
and
it's beautiful.
you don't even touch Photoshop.
No, Photoshop is too expensive. Only rich people use Photoshop in this day
um,
and age.
right, and so then you utilize that and I think you talk about how you have a tablet that you work from as well.
Yes, it's a Wacom Cintiq tablet.
Okay,
So
all
it's
right.
a display tablet, and it's pretty comfortable. I also have this. Hold on. This. Oh gosh. Sorry. This thing that I put on my desk, and then I put my tablet on top of it to like help with my posture.
Okay.
And also because my cats, like this one, really like attention when I'm drawing. Normally, I put the thing here and they just sleep under it while I'm
Okay.
working. And that way, I can work with good posture and without my cats knocking my tablet over.
and and also too, you mentioned last time is that you've been very deliberate with your work-life balance as well.
Yes.
How important is that for those that are listening or watching, to in order to make sure that you're doing your creative work, to how important is the work-life balance for that?
It's so important. If I didn't have the work life balance that I have right now, I would not be able to create my comic. But also because of the balance and the rhythm that I've gotten used to
Hmm.
over the past couple of years. Like in the morning, I work on the comic. In the afternoon, I do my day job. And then in the evening, sometimes I'm still at my day job and sometimes I keep working on my comic. But I try to spend at least maybe 2, 3, sometimes even 4 hours a day working on my comic.
Wow. Um, I want to get back to also that you mentioned before about how Volume 4, you're really excited about Volume 4 coming out. What advice would you give to comic creators on how to pace out your volumes? Um,
Well,
it,
I guess it depends how much experience they have.
mm,
Because if you're creating something for the first time, like if it's your very first comic, for the love of God, start small. Start with a one shot, maybe something that's 10 pages, 30
mm,
pages at most, because especially if you're new at creating comics, it's so difficult to find a balance that works and have a project that you can maintain interest in long enough to avoid burning out and losing interest. But if you start small and you're able to bring at least that first project to completion, then you'll already be far ahead most people who try to be comic creators, because every single day on Discord servers, Facebook groups, subreddits, I see people who are like, I'm going to be a comic creator, and then they start with this massive project which they give up on within the first couple of months because they lose motivation, because they're not seeing enough growth, because they
mm,
feel like they're not going anywhere, because they've been working on it for months but they're still so close to the beginning. But if
right.
you start small and you're able to bring that first project to completion, then the next longer one is going to be so much easier and so much more manageable. Also, because at that point you'll have had, or you'll have gathered the experience of how to manage such a project and how to deal with such a project.
Right.
And when it comes to managing several volumes, well, I suppose it does depend a lot on the type of story that you're trying to tell, but it is important to have at least some elements of interest in every volume, while because like some volumes they might be slower than others, and that happens with almost every book, that happens with almost every series. If even one volume is boring, people are going to drop it. So even if
Right.
the volume after is super duper duper interesting, people are not going to know, because if they get bored, they're going to drop it. So even if you feel like it's a transition phase or transition arc, and yeah, it's a bit slow now, but it's going to get really cool in a moment, add some elements to maintain interest, because otherwise people are going to lose interest and completely drop it.
Right. That's a good point. And how would you, and as a creator and as a writer in that sense, how how do you know when a volume's over?
Well, aside from my first volume, which is
200.
massive pretty much, like from the second and the third and the following ones, I try to maintain them between 50 and 60 pages, mostly as a matter of finances, because
Mm,
since I am printing them in full color, if I made more, it would cost more, because they're full color and they're 50 pages.
right.
So they're
Yeah.
not going to be like as expensive as a 100-page volume, but they're not going to be as cheap as a 20-page volume either. So I'm trying to keep them of more or less that length, for finance purposes. So yeah, aside from the page number that I try to keep in that amount for um, financial reasons, I try to make sure that each volume either closes with something like a cliffhanger, or something that is heartwarming and makes it feel like, yeah, the volume is finished, but I feel good about it.
Mm,
Like, technically, both volume 3 and volume 2, big coincidence, and with scenes in bed, but not in the dirty sense. Like, it's kind of like talking and cuddling in the heartwarming sense.
right.
And I feel like after like the drama of the rest of the volume, having it end on this gentle, slow note feels like yeah, it's finished, but I'm calm about it. I'm okay. I'm satisfied, and now we'll wait for the next one.
Mm. How many volumes do you see Sunrise Blossom going? Is this going to be an ongoing series, or do you actually have a pretty substantial beginning, middle, and end that you foresee?
Well, I did have a substantial beginning, middle, and end idea, But then I
Yeah.
keep getting ideas. And I'm like, okay, this is how it's gonna go. But then maybe I get this like thunder idea while brainstorming, and I'm like, you know what? What if that happened? I like that. And so it's like it keeps adding to it. So like maybe I don't know, a few months ago I would have said, yeah, it's going to be maybe, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 volumes. At this point, I think it's going to be at least maybe 10 volumes.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Good.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll
So if you
see.
wow, so if you're looking at 50 pages per volume, more or less, I mean, you're talking about in 10 volumes. And first, so you're looking at close to like 600 or so pages. Then
Well, I mean, with volume 1, 2, and 3, I'm already at almost 300 pages.
that's right. Oh, then my math is wrong here. Then so 50 times 10 is
500,
right.
including, no, 50, no, it's 50 times 9 plus 220.
Okay.
But
All
also,
right.
like, some might be 50, but like volume 2 is 53 pages. The next might even be 60,
Yeah.
depending on the pacing.
Wow. Jeez. Yeah. And what have you seen? What have you noticed through your style that your artwork has? Um, what type of evolution have you seen in your art style that you've seen now as compared to when you first started?
Well, the artwork is improving a lot. It has improved and it keeps improving a lot. Like, to give you an example, volume 1, I mean, I started it when I was fresh out of high school. I was in comic
Hmm.
school.
What are some techniques that you wished you knew working on volume two that now, as you're working on volume three, that you wished you knew before when it comes to maybe clip art studio or even from design perspective?
Use thinner lines and use the airbrush a little bit less. Because, yeah, one of the biggest artistic differences between volume 2 and volume 3 is that in volume 2, I was a bit shy with cell shading, so like the traditional, like line shading, like cell shading, and I use the airbrush a lot.
Mm,
And I still used the airbrush a little bit in volume 3, but mostly for like some smoother transitions, like on the cheeks sometimes. But I would use cell shading a lot more. Um, and it looks nicer. It looks a lot nicer. So yeah, thinner lines and less airbrush. The airbrush is not your friend as much as you might think it is.
right. And was that some aesthetic issue, or is that more of a style or professional issue, would you say?
A bit both, maybe. Like, aesthetic
Okay.
issue especially, but
Okay.
most, even especially illustrators, if you tell them that the main brush you use is an airbrush, they're going to look at you like
Mm, right.
judgmental, pretty much.
Volume three is coming out on August 6th.
And it's
And
all ready, so as soon as the funds come in, it's going to be printed and shipped immediately.
right. What kind of tips would you give comic creators who are looking at printing? What are some things that you are happy that you have learned in the past that you've implemented moving forward from the actual printing perspective?
Well, always, always, always look at many, 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 many printer options, because aside from maybe having one preferred printer, I mean, this is maybe not exactly my case because I'm printing multiple volumes, and so I want consistency in the sizes of the volumes. But if you're doing one shots, or if maybe it's your first volume,
Hmm.
look at many different printers, because even if normally one printer is cheaper than the other, it's possible that maybe the other has an ongoing sale, or maybe
Oh,
the other is more expensive for smaller amounts but cheaper for bigger amounts.
okay.
So
All
keep in
right.
mind the printer, keep in mind the number of copies you want to print, the size you want to print. Um, Make sure you can get a test copy or like a zero copy, because there are, I almost guaranteed, going to be mistakes either in maybe the paneling or in the lettering that will have to be fixed. So always get a zero copy. And for the love of God, leave some bleed room in your pages when you send it to print. Oh my goodness. There are so many people who have no bleed room on the sides of their panels, and when it prints, it looks like, can I say bad words?
Um, uh, PG rated.
It looks
Yeah.
like donkey.
Good. That is really good information. So Nina, very excited to check out Volume 3. Always a big fan of your stuff, and I gotta say, out of almost everybody that I've talked to, you have the most robust link tree, and
Thank you.
I gotta
It's like
say,
so many.
yeah, you. So if people want to follow you, they can go to the link tree backslash Nina D Aberlein. You have
Hmm.
your volume 3 Kickstarter on here. You have your Etsy page, and I gotta say, you have an amazing Etsy page.
Oh, thank you.
Please check out their Etsy page. You even have original artwork, paintings for
Ooh,
sale on there as
there is
well.
one that is currently a work in progress that is going to be for sale as an original painting in this campaign. But I have spent so many hours on it so far, and I am really, really, really enjoying it.
Oh, that's
Which is
beautiful.
also which is it's gouache, and it's also going to be for sale as original artwork in the Volume 3 Kickstarter campaign.
Nice.
Hmm.
Okay. Beautiful.
Thank you.
And do you have and I love the fact that for those that have missed volume 2 or volume 1 as well, it's better to get it on the Kickstarter as it's launched. It's better.
It's
But
also
if
a
you
bit
miss it,
cheaper.
yep. If you miss it, then you can also get them on through your Etsy page as well. You got a great Facebook page.
Thank you.
Very fun, and that's where you can watch some of your live streams via Twitch
Yeah,
through
I
that.
actually bought the premium version of um, Streamlabs just today, because since the Kickstarter, as of now, is going to go live soon, I'm going to have to stream a lot more,
Right.
and like try to expand it. And I do have some friends that are very popular on social media, and if I stream with them, sometimes they also share it out with some of their followers, maybe on their Discord or on their Instagram, and it brings people in,
Yeah.
which helps my Twitch algorithm.
Right.
And yeah, so like I'm going to be sharing it on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and stuff. Yeah, I've got a lot
You
on
have a
that link
it's right.
tree.
You have a Patreon. You got your webtoons. You got your tapas. You
Hmm.
got your global comics. You're also very active on Twitter. I always like to retweet and sometimes like some
Yeah,
of your
it's so
stuff on
sweet.
Twitter.
Thank you so much.
And your Instagram. You got Discord. Everything. You're on TikTok. Everywhere. You're
And a
everywhere. It's great.
partridge in a pear tree.
Exactly.
I also highly recommend people to join my Discord server because it's very, very, very active, and there's patrons, fans, friends, casual readers, and it would definitely get you a lot more involved
Mm,
in a friendly way. And very often I share like my proofreading stuff. I share art on
oh,
Discord
good.
first that I wouldn't share on other platforms sometimes, and it's very, very social.
Perfect. Well, come back on when you get volume 4. I'd love to start. Love to
Yeah.
check. Especially this is you said this is an exciting one, volume 4. So, well, thank you so much, Nina, and it was always a great pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And so, how many volumes is I? So I guess hang on. Let me stamp
Hmm.
that for a second. Time stamping it so it's so smooth after when it's edited, it'll be so smooth. It'll be great.